Alright, let's talk about Necromancers in Season 5. What are we getting that's going to be exciting? So, for starters, let's go over some of the brand new uniques, and I actually have Season 5 gameplay of one of the uniques in action. So, starting right off though, we got the Path of Trag'Oul. These are brand new unique boots coming out in Season 5, and it makes it so Bone Prison traps a larger area and fires 20 to 35 bone splinters at enemies trapped within. And then you get to increase your maximum essence by 2 for 8 seconds each time these bone splinters hit an enemy. So that could be actually pretty good, as you really need to get a huge amount of damage for maybe bone spirit to basically one-shot things. That could be pretty cool, and bone splinters is actually something that maybe you can actually start to consider running. I mean, if it's really, really big damage, I think that this could be pretty crazy because it's 20 to 35. If the same target could get hit by multiple of them, like, I don't know how it's going to fire, so this is something that we're going to have to take into consideration. If they all fire inward, then that's going to be insanely good at the, like, very center of it, right? Hitting, like, 35 times, especially if you get, like, I'm guessing this is the unique power, though. It probably wouldn't be, like, an affix, but there are maybe special affixes sometimes that you can roll, because I don't think you can greater affix the unique power, but I'm guessing this is part of the unique power versus like a roll that would be special to it. But nonetheless, you're getting an insane amount of essence, but it's mainly for this that I think could be quite exciting. But nonetheless, if you want to increase your spirit for other skills, that is something that you can do. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about is the Mortacrux. This is another brand new unique, and it's going to be a dagger. So it gives you some intelligence, macabre damage, and then you have a chance to make enemies vulnerable, which is actually not a bad stat at all. And then you get +5 to hewed flesh. But one of the most important things here is when consuming a corpse, unfortunately, it is a chance to also create a decaying skeletal simulacrum that seeks out enemies, but it cannot attack. And when it dies, it's going to explode for some amount of shadow damage. Now, I'm not sure like if this is on a really low character, because considering it's only a 30% chance to activate and only does 5k, when we look at some of the other things like Andariel's or even the brand new Druid unique that's coming out in Season 5, these numbers are not even close to being like relevant. But you do get, you know, the ability to maybe auto-cast this with something like the Ring of the Sacrilegious Soul, but they did show off gameplay on it, and I want to show you guys the gameplay of this in action again. So how it works is you are going to have these skeletons basically come out for free, and you'll see kind of that they just stand around and then they blow up. By the time these blew up, everything was already gone. I mean, look at how they work. So he's showing how they work. So remember, it's a chance that these get to summon, which is very important because it doesn't mean you just whenever you consume a corpse. He got 2 out of all of those. Now we get to see an army. They don't just run up and explode. They just stand there. And I don't know if they have to be attacked or if it's a set duration, then they explode. Either way, the way I see this is, I don't like to start off videos with downers, but this one, it needs to be, here's how I would have done it. This damage needs to be, like, multiplied times a lot. So make this number for the explosion, unless we're looking at this on like a level 1 character. Like, it has to hit for like 50k plus or something. It needs to be a very big number because you have to consume a corpse, and there is a chance. It's basically like a 30%, it's a 30% chance on the highest roll on this to actually get any sort of good value, which I think is a very big downside. Also, if you could run like the dagger, plus you could run something like that Black River, then you could have all these corpses being consumed really fast, and then you could have a cool combo, but you can't do it because, well, the Necromancer can't wield 2 different weapons. It's only like a shield or like an offhand, so I feel like, unfortunately, I just don't see this being like an absolute S tier, but who knows, maybe there's something later in the patch notes that will make more sense of it. But that's my first impressions on the brand new uniques to maybe make a build around. On top of that, they're coming out with other things over here. So we have the aspect of Unholy Tether. So casting a Golem skill creates a bond between you and the Golem, and then you get 25% increase, 20 to 40% movement speed, and you guys are going to be unhindered. So if you can keep this up, cool. You get extra movement speed for the Necromancer, always a nice thing. And then next up, we have the Reaper's mobility over here. Sever now dashes you to attack instead, and it becomes a mobility skill and costs no essence, but it has a cooldown. You just remove this part, and then I'd be excited about it, because, you know, I want to play a Necromancer that gets to teleport around. Sounds awesome, but because there is a longer cooldown, at least now we have a mobility skill. But will this be enough for Necromancers to be happy versus like Blood Rush that we had in D3? I mean, it's something, but I wanted it to be like an actual attack, and we can just spam it. Maybe we can get something to reduce the cooldown. That would be cool. Maybe it'll be in here. Let's check out the rest. We have Aspect of Creeping Mist Mobility, so you gain evade cooldown reduction. You can now evade during Blood Mist, traveling twice as far. Oh, I wonder if you can run this with Metamorphosis, what would happen? Let's find out. But anyways, entering or exiting Blood Mist resets your evade cooldown. Okay. Very interesting. Next up, we have Imprison Spirit's Offensive. So when Bone Spirit explodes inside of a Bone Prism, it explodes an additional time, dealing 40 to 70% of normal damage. Now, what I think is pretty cool with this, you run a two-hander, that's 140. Pretty good stuff. And Bone Spirit now prioritizes enemies inside Bone Prison. And because of the brand new other thing that we just talked about, where you get more resource, well, you're going to get more damage. And they actually fixed a bug with Bone Spirit, which will actually be quite nice. Also, Tempering Recipes, Necromancer Wall Defensive, so skill ranks of Necrotic Carapace, Drain Vitality, Minion Damage Reduction, or transferring Minion attacks to Fortify for 3% life, okay? And then we also got some more stuff. I don't know why they separated it, but we gotta scroll down here. So, Book of the Dead, the Necromancer Minion attacks can now overpower. Well, I don't really think you can scale Minion overpower necessarily. But what you could do is, if, you know, your golem happens to land an overpower, you could probably hit for billions of damage. But you could just play the barbarian and every single one of your attacks hits for billions of damage. So I don't know. I mean, it's still something that is a overall buff, but again, I don't really see any scaling of, like, you know, overpower chance. As far as I can tell, on minions. But at least now that they can do it, it may be interesting, because I'm wondering if it says, like, your next attack overpowers, does that mean every single one of your minions also gets that? How does it work? I don't know. But if it's just like, oh, they have a 3% chance to overpower, better than nothing, but still, I'm not sure if that's going to lead into a brand new overpower minion build. But next up, Golem. If it's far away from the targeted location from the active ability, it will now jump to the target, and then you get 50% increased slam size. So pretty cool stuff for Golem builds. And then with Sever, primary damage got increased over here, secondary damage got increased, and then Lucky Hit Chance got increased. So overall, some nice buffs to Sever, but I don't know if this makes it an S tier build. The Blight damage over time got increased, but there's a massive nerf to Blight, which we'll talk about. Basically all the shadow stuff. Then we have Blood Wave getting a massive amount of damage, going from 150 to 450. Then we have Shadow Blight, the hits required got reduced, but again, massive nerf, I'm going to talk about in a second. The damage did get increased over here with Shadow Blight. And then Hellbent Commander, your minions would get increased damage while you're close. Now, when you control at least 7 minions, they deal up to 30x increased damage, so a little bit of a nerf over there with that. But then we technically get some other buffs here. But with Blight Aspect, the bonus damage after triggering Shadow Blight 10 times got reduced. This is the massive nerf that I was talking about. So normally you put this on your two-hander, right? You get 240x damage, right? That's huge. And now it's only 50%, but you would put out a two-hander, so it's 100. So you go from 240 to, well, you get 100. Now, this is just too much damage, I guess. But remember, some of the other stats got buffed up, like the hits required for it, the base damage, and some of the shadow stuff. So it's a buff and a nerf, but overall, I would say that's probably going to be a nerf. Then we have Aspect of Bursting Bones. So Bone Prism burst damage got increased over here from a massive amount. Wow, 120% of weapon damage. Aspect of Empowering Reaper. Chance for Sever to create a Blight got increased. The Blight bonus damage got increased. And then the Aspect of Hungry Blood, additional Blood Lance, also got a damage increased. Oh, that's a pretty nice buff, but I don't think this is anywhere like near viable. Grasping Veins over here, crit strike chance after casting Corpse Tendrils got reduced. Wow. Critical strike damage to enemies by Corpse Tendrils also reduced. Crit strike damage bonus lasts for 6 seconds rather than indefinitely. Ooh, okay. Wow. So that's a big change over there. Then we have Consuming a Corpse increase the damage of your next core skills by 10x up to 25. Oh, wait, is this a... Oh, no, okay, so it goes up to 50x, okay. And then now Consuming a Corpse increases the damage of your next core skill by up to 6%, up to 30. So that's a nerf over there. Wow, nerf. Okay, I thought they were trying to support us to not play minions anymore, but like it looks like there's massive nerfs here. Torturous Aspect. Previous Iron Maiden is also now a darkness skill and deals shadow damage. Enemies affected by Iron Maiden have a chance to be stunned when they deal direct damage. Now Iron Maiden is also a darkness skill and deals shadow damage. Enemies have a 10 to 25% chance to be stunned when they take damage from Iron Maiden. Ah, so this is, I'm guessing this is also another nerf, right? Because the other one would be whenever they take damage, which now it makes it a lot worse. Okay, so unique Blood Moon Breaches. We actually did play this in, I think, in a Spirit Bomb build. So the overpower to curse enemies got increased by 30. That's a pretty decent amount. And then Kuro's Embrace, the core skill damage affix replaced to Rings of Tides of Blood passive. Ring of Menelin, Lucky at Chance replaced with Summoning Skill damage. Okay. We'll see if this becomes good. If it's like an X multiplier, then all these nerfs could be, you know, a little bit less painful. And then we have Death Speaker's Pendant, summoning skill damage replaced with movement speed. Oh no. The problem with this item, guys, if you guys didn't know how many problems, like a lot of the things that Necromancer has with overpower, like when you get like the mod for Blood Surge, like when you get the thing to cast twice, it doesn't actually count towards the Paranormal Blood Surge, nor does Paranormal Blood Surge actually work with this either. So the problem with this over here with Death Speaker's Pendant is like you have your minions also activate these novas, but it doesn't count towards the overpower, which would then support some of the newer stuff that they're actually trying to introduce. So I think that that was kind of a mistake over there. I don't know, I mean, you're moving, at least giving movement speed, but I think that's the main problem, and that's the reason why people don't play this. People don't play this item because they're like, man, I wish I had movement speed, right? I think that this is still going to see 0 play. But next up, though, we have Wither Paragon node. The intelligence scaling is now capped. Oh, they're capping everything now. I really don't like that. Like I mentioned before, I think that if you're building a character that should be a stacker, why would you want to cap it? It kind of destroys the design of becoming a stacker. But more weapon types are available for more classes, so Necromancers can now use, what, Flesh Renderer and Butcher's Cleaver? Okay, so yeah, Butcher's Cleaver and I guess Flesh Renderer can now use, I believe that's a mace, right? I don't know if there's going to be any play with it, considering I think that's based off of, that's a Druid unique. I like the idea, though, that we can like maybe try some newer things. I think, yeah, Flesh Renderer is bonus off of willpower. Dang. I wonder if, yeah, if you could use some of these other things, it'd be kind of cool to change this to your character's main stat, because now that we can equip more of the things that are for very specific classes, like, for example, no one plays the Butcher's Cleaver. It actually is surprisingly good in PvP, but that's about it. Yeah, it's a nicer, it's like, it's better than nothing, but still not crazy. Well, yeah, we have massive changes over here. Now, this one is actually big, where they fixed the issue where Skeleton Reapers could get both bonuses when using the second option upgrade. That's getting nerfed. Fixed the issue where crit strike chance from Supreme Bone Storm did not trigger if Bone Storm was recast while another Bone Storm was active, so that's a nice change. Grasping Veins could apply its bonus without using Corpse Tendrils. I really wish, I think how, it's the one that like pulls in everything, right? I remember like with Ring of the Sacrilegious Soul, that had like a lot of problems. Like it wasn't activating a lot of the bonuses that you would get unless you self-casted it. If you guys know what I'm talking about on, yeah, it's Ring of the Sacrilegious Soul, and then there's one where it's like, I think it's Corpse Tendrils, would give you this bonus, which is getting nerfed too. Not only are they nerfing it, but I really wanted this to be on autocast so I can just have everything automated. But they also fixed an issue where Hellbent commanders could still function. Okay, this is like some kind of exploit here. Fixed an issue where Aspect of the Frenzy Dead had irrelevant addition of summoning to its description. Fixed an issue where the cooldown reduction granted by rapid ossification didn't apply to Bone Spirit. This was actually pretty good, and I know some of you guys have maybe seen my YouTube short on the Necromancer Bone Spirit build. Or I called it a Spirit Bomb is what I called it. And it was a really cool build, but there's so many bugs with that thing, and this is actually going to be helping it. And there's a bunch of new buffs that we can kind of test out, and I'll drop the guide for it eventually. Obviously, we're going to try on the PTR, because with the PTR shooting out all those little, like, bone, what is it, the bone splinters could actually be another build where we could have Bone Spirit do a crazy amount of damage, potentially, and if we can increase the size of, like, this thing, we can maybe do something, considering if this does damage, right? Because this does damage, right? When it, like, does something? I think it does damage in some sort of way. But let's say it does damage, then we can proc and actually have, like, some sort of Pain Gorger build. Remember, you're getting up to 35 basic attacks. That is huge. Like, there's very few things that get that amount of, like, basic attack skills. As long as it doesn't shoot outwards. If it shoots inwards, yo, we throw on Andariels, and just the amount of sheer lucky hit that we get off of, like there's going to be very few things that can compete with the amount of projectiles that you're getting with this. So that's essentially more what I'm interested in testing so far. Then fixed an issue with Untimely Death Aspect, was not gaining stacks when the player healed values smaller than 1%. Fixed an issue where Reap didn't scale with your passive and temporary attack speed. Okay, so I'm curious to know, what do you guys think is going to be the top tier Necromancer build? I think that Bone Spirit may be one of like the top tier builds. Minions are getting, if you're playing Shadow, there's a massive nerf obviously, but you are getting some buffs here and there. And there was another thing that I was actually kind of more excited about, where Minions, aggressive, I think, oh, here we go. So with Book of Dead, minions are now more aggressive and now will automatically engage nearby enemies. And I started off the video like really excited to see if Mortacrux is going to be good. Like we have these automatic, like, you know, skeletons that just walk up and explode on things. That's cool. So in order to give them like some feedback on this, and I'm going to test it out, but just on like first glance over here, the damage isn't high enough, the chance to proc is not high enough. And again, if I could run this with Black River, that'd be really cool, because then I can have all those consuming corpses, like I could consume like, what is it, 5 or 6 corpses at once, and then boom boom boom, I get a bunch of these things to shoot out. But the main problem, at least from the gameplay that they showed off, remember, it looked very, very slow. Look how many seconds it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What is that, like about 7 seconds? Wait, actually, I can look at the timer here. But basically, you saw how long it took. Most engagements in terms of like a good build in Diablo, in 7 seconds the thing is dead. Unless you're doing, I want to be rank 1, number 1 pusher in the pit. It's just too slow, simply. And remember, you have to consume a corpse to do it. It's not like it instantly does it. So you have to consume a corpse, have a 30% chance, and it doesn't really do insane damage. So I would say I'm most disappointed about Necromancer out of all of the things so far in terms of like its creativity, with the exception of maybe the thing that traps them all in, and we can get that like crazy damage and maybe some just lucky hit sort of like activations with Bone Splinters. That's what I'm mostly interested in playing. But anyways, let me know what you think is going to be the next best Necromancer build. I still think it's probably going to be Minions at the end of the day. I have no idea why they didn't just like buff a lot of these blood skills. These things have been bad for like a really long time, and I think it's time to see the rise of the Blood Necromancer. So hopefully we can see some buffs from the PTR. But anyways, that's my thoughts. Let me know yours down below. What are you planning to play with Necromancer for me? Well, you guys already know I'm interested in this out of all the things. Is it going to be the best build? We'll wait and see, but probably still going to be Minions. Anyways, take care. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.